You're listening to the third Penny to the Pound podcast, brought to you by Clear Start Accountancy and Budgeting, based in Manchester, but covering the whole country. And you've also got an arm of the business in Canada, which I want to find out about at some point, which is really interesting. I'm here with Fiaz Ashraf, who is the managing director of the business. And we are also here this week with Shaz, who has got a really important role within the business. Do you want to tell me what you do?
Yeah, so I'm one of the team leaders here, and I've got my own team that I manage. And my job is to make sure that they're providing the service to our clients and making sure they're helping them.
And what is that service?
Personal budgeting and helping all our clients to budget.
Shaz, can you just talk us through the day in the life of your team? You know, what from when you get in the morning, what happens? Talk us through it.
Yeah, so my job is basically to make sure, we're dealing with any clients' queries, anywhere where they're struggling, make sure we provide that service and just make sure we're there for them. But the main aim for my advisors is to ring the clients, go through the income and expenditure, make sure they can afford, to live. Any way we can help them budget, i.e. look at their gas and electric, look at TV packages, just anywhere where we can help them save money, just basically direct them so they've got money for themselves to live, a life that they're supposed to.
So can you give me an example of a client that, for example, you've come across in the day? So they've updated their app. You've got their last month's income and expenditure. You've identified that their electric bill is a little bit higher this month. What would you do in that situation?
So we'd basically ring them up as soon as we can, find out the information to why their gas and electric's that high.
So what sort of questions would you ask about?
So we'll ask them, does that include any arrears? How big is your house?
How many people live there?
How many people live there, yeah. And just basically gather all the information. And what we'll then do is we've teamed up with Utility Warehouse.
Okay.
Yep. So what we'll do is we'll go through a quote with them and check whether we can get the gas and electric down for them. And basically the extra money is for them.
Do you use any other business? Do you refer to anybody else, or is it just Utility Warehouse?
At the moment, it's Utility Warehouse because they cover quite a lot.
Yeah, so Utility Warehouse at the moment, they've got quite a large panel of energy providers within it.
I get you.
So they are the go-to people at the moment in terms of getting the best sort of price for the client.
Mm.
So we have access to the portal. So all we need to do is just put in usage and meter numbers and things like that. And then it will calculate which energy provider can beat the rate that they're on at the moment.
And everyone can just find that on their own bill, can't they?
Yeah, that's right. It's on the bill or actually on the meter as well.
Right. So it's really easy information for someone to get.
That's right. Yeah. So then Shaz's team would then go through that quote with the client, and it's not just energy; it's mobile phones, it's what
TV packages.
Yeah, and don't they do those cashback cards as well? Is that right?
They do, yeah.
So can you do those as well with them?
We can do, yeah.
So what happens in the situation with Utilities Warehouse is that they're always updating their systems with new offers, new sort of tariffs, and it's our guys really that would keep their eye on that and
I think
see what's what.
There's a future podcast about that about Utility Warehouse and how you work with them. And I think we definitely need to have a conversation with somebody from Utility Warehouse about what they do. Because they're another business that we hear a lot about. People call them UW now as well.
UW, yeah. Their branding is UW.
Yeah. So it'd be great if we could have somebody from Utility Warehouse in the future to talk about how it works with them. So if somebody phones up and says, my energy bill is too high, it might be that they're out of contract and maybe they're just in a situation where they're
so they've been reverted back to a standard tariff.
And those things I don't understand, and my husband does it all for me, and it's not because I'm stupid, it's just because I don't understand it. So you're the person you're like my husband in that situation. But it's not just gas and electric bills. It's other things you've mentioned, like insurance and things like that.
So there's telephone packages, there's TV packages. We've got a lot of things in the pipeline where insurances we'll be looking at as well, as in life insurances. So yeah, we're doing everything that we can to make sure we provide that budgeting and support to all our clients. As you understand, with the cost of living going up, it's a massive thing at the moment.
So Shaz, the journey of a client, They would come in, they would go through a process of understanding, what their financial goal is.
Yeah.
And why they want to, go onto our personal budgeting service. But with that, the client could be a director of a company as well. So we would also take care of their accounts on their
We do, yeah.
for their company, also self-assessments.
Yeah.
Depending on, are they classed as self-employed or on the payroll for the company. But can you just talk us through like a financial goal? Say, for example, a client wants to save up for a holiday next year. What would you do in that situation?
Well, I mean, obviously they're entitled to go on a holiday.
Mhm,
We still want to make sure they live the life they need and enjoy. So we'll do everything that we can. So we'll go for an income and expenditure. We'll look at ways where they can cut back in certain areas. So, for example, maybe food and toiletries.
Mm.
If we feel like, okay, that's quite high, where is it that you shop?
Mm.
And maybe direct them to a different supermarket. So yeah, there's loads that we look at where they can save money and maybe put a bit of money away, so they can save up for a holiday.
How do you establish that they're spending too much on the shopping?
Well, we'll ask them roughly what you spend and how many people in the household. I mean, you'd be quite surprised. You've got certain clients that will spend £600
A month?
a month, yeah. And they don't realise, but then...
Because you do it, what you do is the worst thing,
Yeah.
bits of shopping. I'm going to pop home on the way home from work and pick up something for tea. That's 20 quid, like that.
Yep. And when we have loads, who go to Tesco's and we'll say, have you applied for the Tesco card where you can get cheap? And you'd be very surprised with the amount of people who don't have a Tesco's card. So we'll do everything that we can to put them in the right direction to make sure we're doing everything that we can, where they can put a bit of money away and do what they need to.
A lot of this is it's common sense, but it's not if you don't know about it. Does that make sense? It's like, it's kind of, you probably do it all the time and you think, well, why haven't they got a Tesco card? But, we're so busy as people. We don't always think about these things being important, do we? And actually how they can save you money.
It just becomes part of life where they just think this is normal. And this is where we come into it to help them and say, well, it's not. This is how we can help you.
It's just understanding as well, the individual, right?
Yeah.
So, a lot of people that's within that team, they're in a position to be able to provide empathy and understand and put them and relate to the situation that the client is in order for them to give the best advice and, what worked for them. Experience is key.
How do you teach somebody empathy?
Because it's who you put on that team.
Yeah.
So it's somebody like, for example, if we know that somebody may have struggled in the past, we're a family environment over here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very easy for people to be open and honest. And if someone feels that they can add more value on that team because of their life experience, then why not? They're the best people to speak to.
And you are a family business because you're actually cousins, aren't you?
We are indeed, yeah.
And you didn't just come here because it was your cousin's business. You've worked in the industry for a long time before, haven't you?
Well, this is a little bit different. I mean, I've worked in the debt management industry and obviously this is a personal budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
So there's similarities, but there's a massive difference.
Right.
And it was a challenging role. And I was happy to I kind of agreed with this. This was something I wanted to get my teeth sunk into because we're going out of our way to help clients budget and just making sure we're doing everything that we can to throw money into their back pocket.
Yeah.
So, it was a challenge, but it's good. And it's a challenge I wanted to take on. So it's different to what I've done. But I had the experience and, family-run business and I get treated very well.
Yeah.
Looked after very well. So, yeah.
But so what actually triggers people to phone you then? What point, when people phone you, is there something that they say that they kind of think, I've been thinking about doing this for a while, or I'm lost, or what generally is the kind of trigger to get them to the point to pick up the phone?
Cost of living is just a massive.
Right. Yeah. So they are panicking, do you think?
Oh, yeah. Panicking,
They
worried.
had a higher bill in or something like that.
That's one of the cases, yeah.
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 And it doesn't cost them anything to make that first phone call.
It doesn't indeed, no.
So if I was to phone you up and say, I mentioned this previously, but I'm just using it as an example. My rent's been put up by £200 and I don't know what to do. What would be the process you'd take me through?
So what we'd do is we'd establish to why the council tax gone up. I mean, to be honest, the rent.
Yeah.
Apologies. Yeah, rent's gone up. We'll find out if there's any arrears, whatnot. But our main thing would be just to kind of go through the income and expenditure with them.
Right.
And if the rent's gone up because the rent's gone up, we'll see if we can help them budget in any other areas, so they can pay for the rent.
Would you speak to the other party involved and say, is there any negotiation on this? Or is that not something you would do with rent?
We try our best, but it depends. Obviously, with With the council, obviously, we wouldn't be able to do much with that. Private renting, potentially we can have that conversation on behalf of the client, but we can't guarantee anything.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But we'll do everything that we can to put the client's mind at ease.
Wow, that's really interesting. Especially if you're like not as confident and quite vulnerable, then that would be a really good thing to have someone to do for you.
For example, you mentioned before about the journey. So if somebody went into Google and put cost of living help, we would be up there with our advert saying, come and speak to us about your personal budget.
Yeah.
About your budgeting service. And like I said earlier on, there's lots of different departments within the business.
Yeah.
And Shaz's department takes care of clients that have already, gone through that sort of initial process.
Right.
Like I said, with your example of the analogy, a client has had a rent increase of £200. They would speak to another team about that first.
I get you.
And that team would then try, okay, do you want to stay where you live in, or do you want to have a look at,
I get you.
Taking a different property somewhere else? And then it goes through stages, different steps within the business. And we find it by doing it that way, we're more efficient for the client as well.
Because every little bit is broken down.
Exactly, yeah.
Bite
size, yeah.
Yeah, so you are the ones who are making sure that the individual is working to the budget that you... Yeah.
It makes it easy for the client, the understanding's there, and it's not overwhelming for them. They're already panicking and worrying, so we don't want to bombard them with that information.
And how many people have you helped budget for so far? Do you know?
I've lost count. Yeah.
And what do you like about it?
Helping clients and knowing that I've helped them. I mean, we get loads of clients, who come crying on the phone, and just knowing that we've made their day better by just providing this information to them and knowing now they can sleep better. Makes me sleep at night, definitely. So yeah,
I love that. You're the second
That's
person.
the second person to say that. And they're right, because we have our moral compass within our organization, and the culture within our organization is all about helping people, understanding them, understanding their needs, and helping them. And like we've said earlier, our whole main goal and ambition is to maintain a certain lifestyle for our client. The lifestyle that they want. Like we touched on earlier as well, I mean, Shaz came from a debt management background. Debt management is something that we don't do. But as an incidental and complementary part of our service, if after we've gone through all the budgeting and we find that, hang on, the client just can't afford this contractual repayment, we would contact the client or the creditor on the client's behalf and explain that the client is in financial hardship, and can you put a short-term a solution in place for the client, freeze the interest and charges and let the client get themselves back on the feet. I mean, we wouldn't handle the client money and pay the client or pay the creditor on behalf of the client. We just set up an arrangement between the client and the creditor, and then the client will pay the creditor directly.
Yeah.
It's important for us as a business to understand that, for the client to understand how important it is to maintain their payments to their creditor.
I was gonna say that. I mean, it's the clients have to have responsibility.
Absolutely,
To eat it. And is that a hard conversation? I think I mentioned this before. Do you have to have your team have to have hard conversations with people if they're not kind of following the steps?
Yeah, it's difficult conversations. Of course, I mean, some clients don't understand, but again, it's just one of those things. There's just a lot going through their heads, and that's what we're here for.
And do you engage would you speak to a family member of the client if to help them provide that extra support at home?
Yeah, I mean, if they give us the authority to, then of course, yeah, we would look down that avenue to see if there's anyone there that will support.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So basically, you will try anything to make sure that person is getting the best budgeting advice, best support around them.
Yeah.
And you're available on the app, are you? Then or during working hours if someone wants to speak to one of the team?
Yeah, so we've got a live chat. If a client wants to arrange a call back, they can do. We've got the app. They've got access to that 24 hours a day. And yeah, they can ring in as well.
Well, without naming any names, obviously, have you got any really good success stories that you can tell us about?
Success stories.
Have a think. Edit it in.
Yeah, edit this.
Yeah.
This is a bit like, oh
my God, a spot there. Has there been anybody that you've kind of gone, you've gone home going, yeah, that person, we've helped that person in the last 12 months or whatever. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's quite hard to say. I mean, we did have one I mean, to be honest, it does happen quite a lot, whereas like medical write-offs for a client. I mean, we've spoken to creditors on behalf of the client and, basically showing them that they're going through depression, they've got a lot going on personally, health-wise, and as long as the proof is there, it's took a lot of negotiation with the creditors, but we've wiped off quite a lot of debt for that client, which basically I don't think you can take someone fully out of depression, but just made their life so much easier.
I didn't know you could do that. That's really interesting.
So we have a department that does that as well.
Medical write-off is something which all we would do is understand the client's health condition. We would then...
So if they've got like a long-term illness, not just obviously
long-term illness.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Someone with cancer or something like that.
Yes.
Wow.
So we have clients that are in that situation with cancer, and what we would do is, on the client's instruction, of course, is that we would write to the creditor and say, right, okay, look, the client has cancer. This is the situation. Please, can you write this debt off for the client?
There's another future podcast.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm finding this so interesting. Yeah. It's fascinating. There's so many different elements to it. And so
of course there is, yeah. I mean, every day's different.
Yeah, that's amazing.
As an accountancy practice, we want to be able to offer the full accountancy suite, whether it's business or whether it's personal. And they do interlink as well, because who are running the businesses is people, right?
Yeah.
And they have their own bills on one element, one side of it in their home life and one in their business life. And what we have done is being able to find a niche and to be able to offer that service to all different levels of people.
Yeah. And just to finish, you are also a marathon runner.
I am indeed, yeah.
And you did...
Well, I've only just ran the one marathon, but I'm proud of it.
But that's a massive... That's 26 and a half miles?
Well, there's quite a few people I run with him. They've done like 6 marathons. So compared to that, I'm like just to start off.
When did you start training?
So I did my first marathon. This was before COVID.
Oh, right. Okay.
So my training was there. So I did my first trail run, which was just before COVID. Then I did a 20-mile run after. 4 weeks after that should have been the marathon. Then COVID kicked in.
Oh.
So they cancelled it till October. Then they cancelled that to April. Then from April to October. But yeah, I managed to do it.
Been interested in running?
Yes. Yeah.
You've done it. It's something you've done all your life.
I've done it for many years. Yeah.
And can I be really cheeky and ask your age? Your age?
Oh, sorry, I'm 38. I had to think
You're
that.
38?
I am, yeah.
So you kind of ran your first marathon when you were 35?
36, I was thinking, yeah.
So anything's achievable at any age. I mean, you're not that old.
He tells everyone he's 21.
He does look very young. Do you not fancy doing net marathons then at all?
I mean, I've told him to.
I'm
not fit enough for that. I mean, I'm actually in the gym at the moment trying to get fit. But
maybe that's a goal. That's a target.
Maybe, yeah.
We'll do some kind of budgeting type thing to get him running.
Yeah.
Running like a
I've told him many times.
Yeah.
Many times.
You're really organised, aren't you?
I am very organised, yeah.
You're an important part of the job. It's very important.
It's very, I mean, we're dealing with clients' feelings here as well as, their circumstances. So, yeah, you've got to be very, very organised, prepared, and just making sure for myself as well, that I'm mentally prepared as well.
I bet, yeah. What another fascinating guy. You've got so many interesting people on your team, Fiaz. It's just amazing. And we've got some other great podcasts in the planning stages at the moment, and we'll get to record them. But we really want to hear from you. If you've got any questions around anything that we've talked about, around any of the services that that are provided, budgeting or anything like that, you can get in touch with us, and you can do it via our website.
Yeah, so for budgeting advice, it's clearstartaccountants.co.uk, or for the IVA, individual voluntary arrangement, sort of inquiries, you can go on to afainsolvency.co.uk, and somebody will be in touch.
And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.